Stop this gravity.
Welcome back to No Man's Sky. I'm Adam with the Outcasts. Early in the game, currency is hard to acquire. Need money for that freighter or that shiny exotic you've been after? Here's the guide for you. Farming chlorine with refiners.
Say goodbye.
There are a lot of guides on how to earn money in No Man's Sky. Some of them are legitimate and follow the rules of the game, and some of them don't. Here at the Outcasts, we're not going to show you how to exploit glitches or take advantage of the game and break the mechanics. However, we will show you a technique to earn enough money selling chlorine that it will crash the price of chlorine in the system that you sell in. And that's okay. So I'm starting this guide fresh off of a brand new base build so you can see everything that's needed to go into building a chlorine farm or a chlorine refinery. Set up your base computer, claim your base. I'm going to name ours the Outcasts Primus. As you get to have multiple bases in No Man's Sky, it's nice to have a naming convention that you can recognize easily when you're looking at the teleporters throughout the game. So got my base computer down, I've claimed my area, now it's time to build. I'm going to build a very basic 1x3. A couple of different doors and a fancy little window. I'm using all wood construction, so it's beginner materials, nothing too advanced here. Alright, that window might be a little bit advanced, but other than that, this is all standard stuff at the beginning. Once you have secured your roofs, you'll get a little sound bite that'll let you know that you have now constructed a shelter at your newly named base. It's a very good idea with every new base that you set up your teleporter. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to teleport back to your base from space stations that you visit. You don't have to maintain power to this at all times to be able to use it from space stations to come back to your base, but if you want to use it to warp out, then you will definitely need power. So I'm going to set up the teleporter module as well as the biofuel generator. I like putting my teleporter in the side of a building, that way I don't have to worry about when I teleport back in that it places me inside a building or inside a structure or something that's unusual. Find a good spot for your biofuel generator, place it down, connect some power cables, and you're good to go. And that's pretty much it. That's the bare bones minimum that you're going to need for a base to set up a chlorine farm using refiners inside. What you're going to place inside your building is the medium refiner. The portable refiner is good, but can only refine one item at a time. In this case, we're going to use a combination of oxygen and chlorine in the medium refiner, which allows two elements to be put together to output chlorine. I know that sounds funny, but you'll see in a second the ratios and what makes this process very, very profitable. Once you progress through the game, you'll eventually unlock the space anomaly. Inside the space anomaly is where you can find additional blueprints that include this medium refiner. I believe it costs 10 salvage data. So get your medium refiner ready, head in, and find a corner to put it in. I like to rotate it around just for aesthetics. Your base is going to restrict you to only 3 medium refiners in the area. So make sure you place your 3 refiners inside your building in a decent spot that's easy for you to navigate and get to all 3 of them. I needed some more dihydrogen jelly to set these things up, so make sure you have all your supplies ready to go before you start building. Alright, 3rd refiner placed, and that's it. From 0 base to completely constructed with 3 refiners in about 5 minutes, as long as you have the supplies ready. Now, for this process, you're going to combine oxygen and chlorine inside the refiner. The easiest way to get oxygen is at trade posts and in space stations, talking to the captains of each one of the ships that fly in, buying their supplies of oxygen, or buying them at the trade terminals at the space stations or at the trade posts. While you do need a little bit of chlorine to begin this process, you don't have to buy out a space station's inventory of chlorine. You can come with just as little as 250 in one stack to start your process of your refinery for chlorine duplication. Go up to your first refiner and load 1 stack of 9,999 oxygen and 1 stack of chlorine into your refiner. Those ratios there next to your stacks are what's really important here. This is how this process is so profitable. On the chlorine, it takes 1 chlorine to output a total of 6 chlorine when combined with the oxygen. And in the oxygen, it takes 2 oxygen to output to 6 chlorine. So these two combined, you're using 1 chlorine and 2 oxygen, results in a yield of 6 chlorine. So this process is remarkable on how fast you can duplicate your chlorine or exponentially increase the amount of chlorine that you have. You're really only limited by the number of oxygen that you have. As you use your stacks of chlorine to refine more chlorine, you can just refill those stacks and do the same 1-to-6 ratio as you progress. So the inventory that you want to make sure you have stocked up is your oxygen. Once you have your items loaded, click Begin, and you'll see it takes about 4 minutes to process 4,095 chlorine. That's the limit that the medium refiners can hold. So every 4 minutes or so, you will have to empty the refiner, or during the process of refining, you can empty what it has accumulated up to that point. Load up all 3 of your refiners, click Begin, and start that process, and you will be replicating and refining chlorine. Come back and check on your refiner right as it's reaching the end, so you can see how much you've consumed out of that stack that we began with. We have 4,000 that we're transferring over to our starship. We still have 4,300 left in the refiner, so it only consumed about 700 to equal 4,000 chlorine. Empty each refiner, start that process over again by clicking the Begin button. While you're waiting, you can add on to your base if you would like to. In this case, I added a couple of storage containers and a little platform, and I'm going to add a little ramp. But wait, what if you want to have a 4th medium refiner going, or even more? Well, you are limited to the area around your base to only have 3 total refiners running at once. However, it's not too great of a distance to be able to go and build another building inside your area to be able to set up 3 or 6 or however many more refiners you want to have going. So as you move away from your base, you'll be able to see the indicator will turn green, telling you that you're allowed to construct another medium refiner. So in that area, plop down another building so you can put walls and a roof on. It's not necessary to have the walls and the roof, but when I'm refining, I like to make sure that the elements aren't going to mess with me while I'm out and about. Build your doors, build your walls, build your roof, and then build all 3 refiners. And you can have 6 refiners going at one time as opposed to just the 3, doubling your yield of chlorine in the same amount of time you use for refining. Alright, so I have 6 refiners going, and they have all consumed all of my oxygen, so now it's time to tally it up and see what our totals are going to be at. It's always wise to leave a small stack, maybe 50 or so, in one of your refiners. That way if you come back with a whole ship full of oxygen, you at least have a place to start with your refining from chlorine. And there we go, look at that beautiful set of stacks of chlorine. It's a total of 16 stacks, one of them's not full, but for the most part they're full. Each one of those stacks is 6 million units. That's the average market price. So that's approximately 100 million in chlorine sitting in my spaceship. Now I'm going to go charge my biofuel reactor to be able to use my teleporter and teleport up to the space station up in orbit. Sometimes finding the space station in the same system that you're in is a little tricky. So it took me a second to find. I was afraid that the teleporter was going to run out of juice before I found the space station to warp to, but I found it. Your spaceship will follow you to the space station. It will be parked for you. Head over to the terminal, choose your starship inventory, and look at that. The chlorine in this particular system was plus 1.3%. And that's good. It's not a lower value than the average. It is slightly above average. So that's okay. That's good. Considering how much I'm selling, I'm happy with that. And look at that value, 96,700,000 units for a very short amount of time of work and a very nice yield. That positively puts me up about 85 million on top of what I spent to get all the oxygen and the little bit of chlorine that I had to start. So that's it. That is farming chlorine using medium refiners in No Man's Sky. Thank you very much for watching another No Man's Sky video. I'm Adam with the Outcasts. If you enjoyed the content you saw, please like and subscribe down below and leave us a comment.